to Spoonie Style. I'm Melanie, your Spoonie Style guide, and today we're going to talk about working from home. Having some sort of non traditional employment may be a good option for a Spoonie because our health might be unpredictable, so maybe that's something that you're thinking about. Working at home can mean several different things. When most people think about working at home, they might just be thinking about working solely sitting in the house on a computer. But some people might be thinking about being based out of the house and then actually leaving from home to work. And so I thought maybe I would give you some examples of possible jobs that you can do for so that we have some definitions as we get started talking about it. Some working at home opportunities might be being a virtual assistant for someone. Maybe you put out some personal ads and you do odd jobs for people either leaving the house to do those odd jobs, or you could do them over the computer. Maybe it's typing up information or making phone calls for people. Working from home could be online tech support or online customer service. You could also be a phone agent for either tech support or customer service or sales. Or you could have a home based business where you make products or you sell products that you buy wholesale and then you sell retail. Your home based business could be something like real estate, where you are based out of your house instead of being based out of an office, but you do have to leave when you make appointments with people. That allows you to make your own hours so that you don't have to be out of the house for a 9 to 5 job. So you have to think about what it is you want to do and focus and aim, because I've given you a lot of different directions, different possibilities for home based employment, and maybe you could choose a couple, but you definitely can't choose them all. You want to ask yourself some of the following questions, like, does my illness allow me to build crafts with my hands if I get a lot of orders for my crafts? For instance, my body doesn't allow me to do the amount of sewing and knitting and building and crafting that I used to. So I know that there's no way that I could do a home based business that would require the amount of rigor that I used to do. Will you be able to fulfill the amount of commitment that is needed to be a successful realtor and to support yourself? Can you deal with a high paced sales environment? Or will you be able to deal with customers on a daily basis? Remember that each person is different, so these are questions that you can only answer for yourself. This isn't something that a friend or even a family member can answer for you. I have done a couple different types of home based jobs, so I can give you a couple different experiences that I have had. I have worked from home as both a virtual teacher and also in a customer service sales position. As an online teacher, I had to drive and also fly periodically for meetings and also for training, as well as use my computer and use the telephone to video conference and also to help my students. I had to be available between 12 and 15 hours a day to help my students as needed. I had to be available between 12 and 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, to help my students as needed. The upside was this paid me around $50,000 a year. In my position as a sales rep, I had to multitask on the computer as well as be able to talk on the phone. I had to be able to work on 2 computer monitors simultaneously and be able to simultaneously talk on the phone with the customer while searching through several computer systems all at once, looking for the information that the customer needed while chatting with colleagues on the computer, and then also engaging the customer in a conversation. It was a very high stress job, but it was interesting. I was available about the same amount of hours. The only difference was I would work for maybe 2 hours, and then I was off for between an hour to an hour and a half because I wasn't able to a lot of times actually work a full 8-hour shift or 10-hour shift the whole time. There were gaps in the shifts, and so I would have to actually get off the phone and stop working because the time wasn't available for me to work a full amount of time. Some pros to working from home. Work from home. So there is absolutely no commute. If you get a free moment, you can run to the refrigerator. You can run to the bathroom and you don't have to share your bathroom with anyone. You can work in your PJs. I used to love doing my video conferencing when I worked from home because much like when I record videos for you all, even when I put on makeup, I can just slap on my makeup. Usually have my PJs on bottom and nobody knows. I would get so excited about doing my videos for my students. I would go out on my patio and do my video conferences for my students like I was in a classroom. It was really exciting. There's no commute. I set up my desk right next to my bed, so my commute was rolling out of the bed and leaning over to my desk. On a very bad day, I would reach over to my desk and start booting up my computer while I was still lying in the bed so that my computer would start booting up and I could get to work within just a couple minutes. You can actually do your work from your bed on a bad day. When I was having an awful day and I could not climb out of bed, whether I was teaching or even when I was doing sales, I would pull my computer into bed with me and pull my phone into bed with me, and I would actually work from bed. And the person on the other line doesn't know, as long as you put that professional face on and you try to smile with your voice as best as you can. Most jobs where it's pure work from home, they make you sign up for time slots to work. And in a lot of cases, you can do what's called dropping that time or swapping that time. And that's a pro if they allow you to do that. You can get on and see if you can find somebody else to take your time if you're not feeling well. Those are some of the pros. But you have to remember that it is still a job. So we're going to have to talk about some cons to working from home now. Working from home may require that you pay some startup money. Remember before when I talked about contracting third party? You may need startup money. Maybe you don't have the right computer. The company that I worked for was a tech company, so they were very specific about the type of computer that I had to have if I wanted to work for them. I really wanted to work for them, so I went out and I bought that specific type of computer so that I could work. And they were very specific about the type of phone that I had to have, so I had to do that. At the time, we didn't have internet access in our house, so we had to go out and get internet access hooked up. Also, some companies require that you incorporate or you at least have an LLC in order to do business with them. And so I had to go out and pay money in order to incorporate. And so that goes into that startup cost. So you have to think about the fact that you may have to pay more in taxes if you work from home because you're paying those self-employment taxes. When you work for someone else, remember that your employer is paying part of your Social Security tax and other federal taxes. When you work for yourself, you're responsible for all of that. Along those lines, there's no health insurance. And when you're ill, health insurance is important. So that's going to go on the con list for us. We have to be concerned about our health insurance costs as well. The company that I worked with was called Arise. Um, I'm not necessarily endorsing that company. I no longer work with that company. Um, I'm not getting paid by that company to use that name. I'm simply letting you know that if you do come across that company, I personally had a positive experience with them. If you Google them, you may have negative experiences from someone else. Um, Another company that I personally know of is a company called Convergys. I worked for them in a brick and mortar call center years ago in another state. I know that years ago they implemented a situation where they do also contract agents to work in a home based situation. So if you do ever come across information where they have home-based agents, that is another company that I have worked for, and I do know that that particular name is a reputable company. Again, I'm not personally endorsing them. I'm not getting paid by them to say anything positive about them. I have worked with them in the past or worked for them in the past. Some things that I can tell you about some companies that do third party home based contracting. My experience with Arise was you will have to pay money up front to set up your business because you are considered a third party contractor. Um, I normally would have been very leery of that type of setup and that type of situation. And I would have been very nervous to do something like that. However, a very dear friend of mine that I have been friends with for almost 20 years now also contracts with them and has contracted with them for several years now. And she has also had a very positive experience. So that alleviated that stress for me. And like I said, after having gone through that experience, I had no issues with it. It is usually a red flag for a scam. However, the way that you would want to consider it is the same situation of when you are looking to be a real estate agent. A lot of real estate firms do require that you pay your licensing fees yourself and that you are setting yourself up as an independent contractor, so you have to pay those individual um, fees involved with getting yourself trained and getting yourself licensed. They won't pay for those things for you. In addition to third party companies like the two that I mentioned that I personally know about, there are tons of companies on the Fortune 500 list that we all know about that hire exclusively for their own company for you to work directly for them from home. So that's something else to consider, to just type in the name of a company that you would like to work for and see if they have openings to work from home. My recommendation to you, and this is a strong recommendation, is that no matter who you work for in a home-based business situation, remember that it is still a job and that you still need to be professional. So there are some core things that you need to remember. Okay? Be professional when you do the interview or when you make that call about the inquiry. Second of all, do not under any circumstances disclose that you are ill. It is illegal for them to ask you if you are ill, okay? And you do not disclose that you are ill. If they ask you why you would like to work from home, don't tell them it's because you want to take care of your children. They don't want to hear that because remember, they still want you to be professional. And don't tell them it's because you're sick. So it may take some creativity to think of another reason why you want to work from home. Okay? Expect to go into the office for training. That is an expectation, especially if you're working directly under a company. Like when I worked for a school, I had to go into the office for training. Also, expect to go in periodically for meetings. And then also in the con column, you still have to have a schedule. When you work for yourself, there is discipline involved. You can't just go and decide that you're going to be an undisciplined person. You have to approach this in a professional, disciplined manner. Even if you have a crafting job, somebody is depending on you. So you have to give yourself a schedule. When I contracted, I had to pick hours 2 weeks in advance. And I'm not even going to lie, it was a very stressful process. The quality of my work determined when I got to pick my hours. And I wanted to pick my hours first because if my quality of work was down and I got in to pick my hours even second, there might not be any hours in there. And then so I wouldn't make any money. So I had to make sure that the quality of work that I did was excellent so that I would get to pick hours first all of the time. And then even when I picked hours first, I had to make sure I was available during that time, and I had to be able to pick hours quickly with good internet access so that I could get the prime hours that I wanted. And like I said, it was 2 weeks in advance, right? I don't know how I'm going to feel 2 weeks from now. So it was all a very stressful situation. And then fast forward to 2 weeks later, if I wasn't feeling well, then I had to hope that someone else wanted the hours that I wasn't feeling well so that they would take those hours away from me so that I wouldn't be required to work with a migraine or with a backache or with whatever else was bothering me at that time. So those are things that you have to consider. Mine was not necessarily a quota, it was quality of work. But maybe the job that you get is a quota. And so there's stress involved anytime there's a quality of work issue or there's a quota. So the question is, are you going to be able to handle a performance-based job? And the honest to goodness truth is, when you're in a home-based situation, there is going to be more of a quality of work or a quota situation than when you go out to work, because it's harder for your bosses to measure what kind of job you do when they don't see you on a daily basis. And then you want to ask yourself, are you able to deal with the stress of dealing with the public? For me, I jokingly say, and it's quite true, it's easier for me to deal with people over the phone or over the internet than it is face to face, because I can smile with my voice while I'm grimacing. And so I sound very pleasant over the phone while I'm really in a very bad mood. You really have to ask yourself, are you going to be able to still give that quality every day, even when you don't feel well? And not everybody is able to do that. I focus mostly on being at home and stationary working because that's what I have most experience with. I didn't work in a home-based business situation where I actually went out and did something, but I was based at home. I found being at home difficult enough. I could not imagine being a realtor or a dog walker, or for that matter, a translator. I do speak Spanish, which you know, and I do speak some Portuguese. And I actually considered going out and taking a job where I would leave and be a translator. And I decided not to do that because I thought it would be kind of overwhelming. I do translate from home sometimes, but I couldn't imagine leaving. If my health and my ability to manage stress were good enough for me to work a home-based business where I could go out and about, I'd still be teaching, honestly. And so that's really what it's about. You have to be able to really know your personal skill set and know what it is that you can do and where your excelling qualities are. It's great if you have some kind of degree or some kind of special training because that makes you really marketable and really be creative. You don't have to work for someone else. This is a time period where you can get out there and really just market your skills to other people and work for yourself, even from home. You don't really have to get out and about at all to make money. So go ahead and start a list of all of the things that you know you're great at, because I'm sure you're great at tons of things. And show your Spoonie style. Here on YouTube, feel free to leave messages and comments about the different posts that I put on here. However, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to weed through all of the comments that you leave here. So I recommend that you email me on my Gmail account. There is a Facebook page that you can go to and you can like, and I have daily questions there, and then also you can use that opportunity to post the answers to those questions and read what other people say and maybe meet some new friends.